All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2023 season of Summer Music at Grace. And for the past 22 years, 21, 22, we have kicked this season off. It says the 21st annual farewell reunion. We have kicked this evening off with a farewell reunion organized by Mark Sustic, who's going to speak in a minute. So I want to thank him for 21, maybe 22 years of music making here at Grace. I'm Beth Crane, and I organized the series. And a little bit of information before we get started. Grace Church it's an active church. Sunday at 9:30, we're usually here, and it was built in. This church was built in the later part of the 19th century, but it became a congregation in 1816, the year that was all frizz up, if you have heard that story. We have been organizing a concert series for about 25 years, and this year we have a pretty good lineup, a very good lineup, in fact. However, June is still a mystery, so please check back in. If you're not on our mailing list but would like to be, you can pick up one of these pieces of paper and email me at beth.daybell@gmail.com, and I will add you to my mailing list. So June is the mystery, and then following June, in July, we have Helliand Consort, a wind ensemble with piano, wonderful music featuring some terrific musicians. Katie Oprea, who lives close by here, Rachel Elliott, and I think there's one person who's sort of revolving in and out. They're usually a trio or a quartet, and I think you'll really enjoy them. They do wonderful things with those wind instruments. Following that, August 4th, a week later, the Champlain Consort, and they focus on Renaissance and other early music, and we've had them here before in different permutation. You may remember Full Circle, and so some of the members are from that group. September 1st, a couple of duo from Western Canada will be here, Jocelyn Pettit and Ellen Giro. And so keep checking back on our schedule, but these dates are firm. September 15th, we welcome back Frevo, who play wonderful South American music and a lot of Argentinian music. It's really another great performance. And then we bring it on home with Nobby Reed, who is a local guy and a wonderful blues man. And so hope you'll be here for that. Technically no longer summer, but that's okay. If you need to use the restroom, there is a porta-john around the corner on this side of the building. There will be an intermission with delicious desserts. And if you haven't already, there is a place to make your donation, and Mark will tell you a little bit more about that. And also thanks to Channel 15, to Northwest Access. Megan and Hunter are here to record this event. So thank you, and I present Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Beth. All right. Yeah, thanks for being here. And I always figure my job in emceeing or introducing anybody is to talk until the band is ready. The band is ready. The musicians are ready, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible. So this is the 21st reunion. It's actually the 22nd year. We couldn't call the first one a reunion, right? Because it was a reunion of the first one. Enough of that. I've explained that enough. Thanks for making a contribution when you came in, if you did that. You can make a contribution when you come in. You think you're going to have a good time. You can make a contribution in the middle if you are having a good time, and you can make a contribution at the end if you already did have a good time. So you've got all kinds of choices. Thanks for being here and whatever contribution you were able to make. So what you're doing with that contribution is in large part making a contribution to a fund that supports families with children in what we call life-altering situations. They're being hospitalized, they're involved with transplants or hospice care. And the need has not diminished. We've got 3 families that have benefited from the fund just in the past month. And so pandemic or no pandemic, that still goes on. The need still goes on. So your contributions are really appreciated for that. We put that fund together when our son passed away, my wife Deborah Travis, so over here, myself, Tom Sustick, and the fund is named Tom Sustick Fund, and we've been doing that since 2002, I think, is when we established the fund. And that was the first year that we came here and did this concert. It was sort of a celebration in some ways. It was also marked a transition for me. I had been working in this area of the state for about 20 years, and I was retiring. Those of you who know me know that I don't retire, but I stopped doing that work. And then, and this is actually a transition for me too. Now, Young Tradition Vermont was established about 20 years ago, and I'm transitioning from that as well. So farewell, reunion, right? It keeps turning over. Let's see, anything? I wanted to make some mention of some folks that sponsored. I don't see any of them here. Actually, I see one. Danielle Devlin from Canis Major Music is a sponsor. Ruth Dennis, Julie and Jeff Benet, Patricia and Michael Friedthal, and Charlene Lawyer from the People's Trust Company. So how about just giving them a hand? Thanks for that. This concert is, of course, dedicated to the families who the fund supports, but also can't pass acknowledging 2 good friends who have played at this event many, many times, Pete Sutherland and Jim McGinnis, both of whom passed away in the past year. Both incredible musicians and friends. They're my age peers in some ways, so particularly meaningful to me. And they also have this appreciation in common that we connected with on making sure that the future of the music is in good hands. And you're going to see the results of some of that effort in just a moment. I want to also thank Northwest Access TV for recording this. This will be rebroadcast. It's being recorded now, and it's not being streamed, but it will be broadcast at a later date. If you know how to reach me, I'll share that with you. And if you don't know how to reach me, ask me during the intermission. There will be an intermission. We'll have the desserts out on the lawn. And last thing I want to say before we welcome the band up here is that there are some CDs for sale. Owen Kennedy has a new CD. Pascal has a new CD that's not here, but his trio, Genticorum, who, by the way, are going to play at Place des Arts on, the 1st? And they're doing a little tour of their own in Quebec. So look at those CDs. We also have some past Youth Commission CDs. So the Youth Commission, they're going to come out here and get settled in. And I mentioned the link with Pete Sutherland and Jim McGinnis. This is sort of that flowering of trying to make the tradition live on in the future. And I think Pete will be mentioned many times. Jim also did a lot of that work as well. And Jim, there's a memorial or a celebration, a musical celebration on Sunday for Jim at Halverson's in Burlington. If anybody's interested, I can tell you more about that. All right, so the Youth Commission, this is actually their last performance in Vermont, right, as the Youth Commission. And they're going to Quebec tomorrow, and then they're going to Cambridge, Massachusetts on Sunday, and that finishes their final project. They played in Barnard last night. Really excited. I've yapped enough. Here they are, the Young Tradition Youth Commission.
Young Tradition Youth Commission. I'm this year's leader of the Youth Commission. My name is Fiona Stowell, and we're excited to play for you tonight. That was a couple of Irish tunes that Fern right here brought to the group. The first one was The Hole in the Hedge, and the second one was Paddy Fahey's. And up next, we have a tune that I learned as the part of last year's Youth Commission from a band called Hawktail. We had a really fun workshop with them, and they taught us one of their original tunes called The Tobogganist, and I thought it was just a really fun and unique tune, so I brought it to this group, and we hope you enjoy. Ourselves so you know who's playing for you. Like I said, I'm Fiona Stowell. I'm this year's commission artist leader. I'm 17 and I'm from Montpelier, and I play the fiddle and sing.
Hi, I'm Fern Tamagini-O'Donnell. I'm 19, which makes me the wizened elder in this group, and I'm from Wareham, Massachusetts. And I play fiddle.
Hi, I'm Emmett Stowell. I'm 14. I play the piano and banjo, and I'm from Montpelier.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm 17. I'm from Lyndonville, Vermont, and I play the piano and the mandolin.
Hi, I'm Owen Kennedy. I'm 18, and I play the fiddle and a little bit of banjo. If you want to find me, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, my website, the whole shebang at fiddler Owen Kennedy.
All right, so next, Fiona mentioned that she sings, but we actually all sing. Surprise. So the next one we're going to do is a song that we learned from the Watkins family, Sarah and Sean Watkins, who I have been a huge fan of Nickel Creek ever since I was little. So when we got to do this workshop with them, I was definitely fangirling the hardest I've ever been excited about something, and it was an amazing experience. They taught us this really cool Southern gospel tune called River of Jordan, and when they taught it to us, at first we were like, oh, that's kind of simple, that's neat, and then they were like, oh no, it's a lot cooler than that. So there's a few vocal things. At one point, Sarah was like lying on the floor, like writing down lyrics for us, and then Sean was like, they can just look them up, and she was like, oh. Crazy. And it's an amazing tune, and we hope you enjoy it. I forgot to. I think it's 50. Whoa, 1 second.
You forgot to say where you're from.
Oh, I'm from Winthrop, Maine.
Oh, Winthrop, Maine.
Yes. Yeah, we're an all-star group. We come from very far away to be here.
Sorry, I spent all that time talking so the banjo could tune, and I totally forgot that I have to tune too. All right, we're good.
Heck yeah.
To the river of Jordan, our Savior went one day, and we read John the Baptist met him there. And when John baptized Jesus in Jordan's rushing waters, the mighty power of God filled the air.
I'm going down
To the river of Jordan,
gonna jump right
in the rushing water,
I'm going down
to the river of Jordan, let the cool waters cleanse my soul.
As a part of being in the Youth Commission, we get to take all of these amazing workshops with master artists throughout the year. So we started rehearsing in September, and Mark and I lined up all these workshops with bands coming through the area that we could learn from. And so we have another tune from one of those workshops for you. This tune is from Corner House, and if you were at was it the Fairwater Gig? Yeah. The last year's commission, last year at the Farewell Reunion, played with Porterhouse. I was trying to make sure I was saying the right event, and it was this one. I remember we were in this beautiful church. I was just second guessing myself for a minute there. But we got to have a lovely workshop with them this fall, and they taught us this tune that's written by their mandolin player, Ethan Satillan, and it's called Mayfly, and it's now one of our favorite tunes.
All right.
a tune that we learned from the Scandinavian band Dreamer Circus. And the workshop that we got to do with them was the first thing that I got to be a part of with the rest of this group. And they're amazing, firstly, so like everything else we got to do, it was a blast. And I had so much fun learning from them. But that being said, this tune is very tricky and was a real challenge to arrange. But we've risen to that challenge, and I think we've come up with something very good for it. So that's what we're going to play for you next. Enjoy.
One thing about Rehearsals Show Off is the quality of their sound is amazing. Like, you know a band is good when they sound the exact same on your like tinny phone recording as they do in real life. It's amazing. It was really spectacular.
Not the same as in tinny and small.
Yeah, no, it wasn't tinny. I was like, no. Yeah, when they sound tinny and small in real life and on your phone, you know they're great.
But no, they're so good.
Are they from Sweden or something?
Yes,
yeah,
they are.
They're from, I think, was it Denmark though?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was from Denmark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're missing one. Yeah. Sorry. There you go.
All right.
Try that.
Okay.
Still crunchy. Sorry. Sorry, folks. Yeah. This is the process, guys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Half of being a musician is playing cool music, and the other half is tuning. Yeah.
Last night it was the banjos.
Yeah.
We would tune them.
Yeah.
We were outside and it was a little chilly, and they would immediately get out of tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty magical.
They would come out of tune as they were playing them.
All right, we're solid. All right.
Yeah. All right.
This waltz is written by Fergal Scanhill of Wee Banjo 3, and I learned it off of their album. Back in October, a great mentor and friend of me that probably most people in this room know and love is Pete Sutherland. He passed away this November, and he and Oliver were also a part of last year's farewell reunion. So I remember playing with them at this time last year. And shortly before Pete passed away, he was living near me in Montpelier, and so in October, we brought the Youth Commission over to his studio so he could hear us, because I was visiting Pete all the time and telling him about the Youth Commission, and so he wanted a little sampler. So we had a rehearsal in his studio, and we played him this waltz, and he was like, "Yeah, that's a really nice waltz, but it'd be really good with a harmony." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I agree." And he was like, "Do you want me to write you one?" And I was like, "Sure, I would love that. That would be amazing." Yes, and then, I don't know, I go back like 2, maybe 3 days later, and he's like, "So I got you that harmony we talked about. I finished it." And I was like, "Wow, really? What a quick turnaround." And he played it for me, and of course it was perfectly Pete, and you can totally hear him in it. And he said, "Yep, well, there it is. I'd give it to Owen." And I was like, "Okay, Sensei." Give it to Owen. So this is Marry Me Monday.
So now we're going to play some Cape Breton tunes, starting out with Randy McClellan's and then going into radio edit. So the Youth Commission is a pull-out group of the bigger Young Tradition Vermont touring group, and we all went to Cape Breton a few weeks ago for about 10 days and a bunch of shows and took some workshops. And Andrea Beaton, who's from Cape Breton, was one of the artist leaders this year, so it was really fun to get to play this tune with her. So as Mark said, I have my debut album out right as you come in. It's called Owen Now, and you may be wondering, how'd you come up with that name? So I was at the New World Festival, and I was talking to Mark, and he said, Owen, when are you going to make an album? And I said, now. It's also a play on words because it's kind of like a snapshot, Owen Now. It's a snapshot of my musical journey. So I started out by playing New England tunes and Irish and Quebec, and then it also has tunes from where I've traveled and people that I've learned from. So there's some Cape Breton tunes, there's a Cape Breton MSR in there, if you want to hear some more Cape Breton tunes. And then there's also some Scottish and Shetland. It's in tune. It's a miracle. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm reading the set list wrong. Okay. The next one we have for you is a song that we learned from Dirk Powell and Rainy Eyes. It's called Been All Around This World. And it's a pretty popular, I would say, as old-time tunes go. And they taught it to us with some traditional verses, and then we thought it would be fun to add a few of our own. So there's some that we wrote as a group, sprinkled in.
Tuning party.
One of the nice things about the 4-string or tenor banjo is that, first of all, it's tuned like the fiddle, so my left hand knows what to do. It's just figuring out the pick. And then also, it doesn't change tunings, unlike the 5-string banjo, which every single key it's a different tuning.
We all know which one is better. So, this is a heated debate, but everyone knows.
It's the tenor.
It's the 5-string.
It's the tenor.
It's the 5-string.
I ain't taking sides.
And this is a snapshot into our regular, supposed to be rehearsal time. I'm like, guys, can we play now?
Yes, we can. All right.
This music, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good.
But it would be for people dancing. Wouldn't we all be dancing and drinking?
Yeah, if you wanna, go for it. Go for it.
Anyway, it makes want to get up and dance.
You're more than welcome.
Do it.
People dancing.
I mean,
Don't let him win you over. We know what's best. So this next set, Pete Sutherland last summer was teaching all his banjo students this tune called Banjo Tramp, because he was like, it's one of the best banjo tunes ever, in my opinion, and I would agree with him. And so when Fiona approached me to be in the commission, I was like, I want to play Banjo Tramp. And I talked to Pete and I was like, is that enough? And he's like, no. So he taught me this great old-time tune called Sally in the Garden to go before it. And hope you enjoy.
It's a rocker.
It is.
So now we just have one more for you, and then we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get to listen to Pascal. So this last song for you is a Southern gospel song called I See the Lightning Flashing. And back to my mentor, Pete Sutherland. He learned it from his mentor, Lotus Dickey. And when I asked him what he wanted me to know, he told me this song. So this is the last thing that Pete ever taught me. And a really fond memory for me is sitting at the piano with him, working out the harmonies with this specific group in mind. So it's really, really special to sing now. And we hope you enjoy, and then we'll see you in a few minutes. Nothing about that sounded different.
Okay.
I see the lightning flashing, flashing, flashing. I see the lightning flashing on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home. I hear the thunder rolling, rolling, rolling. I hear the thunder rolling on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home. I see the world be lifted, lifting, lifting. Soon the clouds they will be lifted on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home. Soon the moons of blood will be turning, turning, turning. Soon the moons of blood will be turning on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home. Soon the day will be dawning, dawning, dawning. Soon the day will be dawning on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home. I see the lightning flashing, flashing, flashing. I see the lightning flashing on that great day. Let us take the wings of the morning and fly away to Jesus. Take the wings of the morning and fly away home.
The Young Tradition Youth Commission. Great. Thanks. So we're going to take about 15 minutes, go outside, have some dessert, and we'll be back, and Pascal will do a set. You might see these folks again. You never know. Right. All right, so welcome back, everybody. We're glad you're here. Pass the word along when somebody comes and sits next to you. So something I forgot to mention is, in terms of folks who are supporting this, is the Black Lantern Inn in Montgomery is providing some accommodations for the youth group that you just saw. Interestingly, they are traveling to Quebec tomorrow, to Waterville, Quebec, and they are staying across the street from Pascal.
Yeah.
We had no idea that was happening before. And also I wanted to mention, neither of them are here, but I'll mention them anyway, Beth Crane, who's puts on the series, and Andy Crane, who lives across the street. And whether he likes it or not, we show up here every year. He's been doing it every year, and he really does most of the work of getting things ready and set up. He had some surgery yesterday, and he was out setting things up. So he's an amazing couple of folks, Andy and Beth. If you get a chance to say hello to them, do that. If anybody can stick around and you feel up to it, I've got to move this platform up to the
I'll help you.
up there. All right. So Pascal, there's one. I'm two. Need 3 or 4. Okay, great. So just hang around a little bit at the end. I appreciate that. I hope that was the desserts good.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, because folks are still out there eating them. So Pascal is from, as I mentioned, from Waterville, Quebec, not Waterville, Vermont, which Franklin used to live in Waterville, Vermont. There should be a walk from Waterville to Waterville, some kind, right? I don't know. There's some kind of connection there. That already exists. So it's about a 2-hour drive for him, and he used to live in Farnham, which is a little bit closer, and he used to come down and teach several programs with Young Tradition Vermont. He taught fiddleheads for several years. He also started a festival in Sutton, Quebec, called the Sutton Fiddle Festival, and fiddleheads played there. So did the touring group, so did the Youth Commission, a different format than the Youth Commission that you saw now. So he's been really central to a lot of stuff that we've done. And I think I mentioned this before, he has a new CD with his trio, Genticorum. The CDs aren't here, but you can get them on Bandcamp, I believe, right?
Yes.
You can order them on Bandcamp. You'll maybe hear more about that. Pascal and his 2 bandmates in Genticorum really are some of the top-notch musicians as an ensemble and individually that play music from Quebec. We're really lucky to have him here. Pascal's I'm not going to be able to be exhaustive here, but a father, a husband, a fiddle player, a teacher, an organizer, a producer, a fiddler, obviously. I saw a guitar, and he's a singer. He's a collector of old songs, and particularly French songs. And we're really excited to have him here. I'm going to turn the room over to Pascal Gemme. Would you please welcome him?
Just want to say a little something about Mark before I start. I was lucky enough to experience the Champlain Valley Folk Festival when it was still going on, and I was very inspired by what Mark had done with the festival and all the people he brought together. And that's, I think, and a lot of people in Quebec, I have to say, were very inspired by all that work of bringing all the traditions together, because that's how this kind of stuff stays alive, through meeting other people. And so I'm very, very glad to have been invited. Thanks, Mark. Thanks a lot for everything, and all those wonderful players who were here on stage a few minutes ago. Bravo, Youth Commission. But maybe we can give them another round of applause, I think. This room sounds so good that I just want to play. It's my turn to get the room now. So, when I was 5 years old, I started asking for a fiddle from my parents, and here I am, all these years afterwards, still playing it. And you know, it's never too late to start.
I think they want this for music, they're recording.
just warming up. You know, I can take one of those tunes and just play it for half an hour. So I'm trying to go easy on you. But still, you know, when you do that, you play it for half an hour, then you mess up, then you try to reproduce what you just messed up and try to come up with a variation. You know, a mistake can become musical if you play it well enough. So that's what I was starting to tap into that at the end, trying to find, what can I do? Oops, no, that's not working out. Okay. Let's try this instead. Adding a little bit of spice here and there. And I like to say that traditional music is like a time machine. You hop in it, you learn these tunes, but you're never sure if they were composed a few years ago, a few generations ago, a few centuries ago. And all of those tunes, the ones that are just brand new and the ones that are centuries old, they cohabit together. Mm-hmm. So you might be traveling from an old medieval song to a new tune to something that was popular 100 years ago, and then back to a modern tune. And well, that's what I want to invite you to hop in the time machine with me. And I'm going to start with a very old medieval song, and then I'm going to jump through time and see if you can tell which ones are the newer minted ones and the old ones. The first one is very old. I tell you where you start. after that. I hope you weren't trying to listen to each and every note. You know, that's not the way you do with that kind of music. You just let it roll, be surrounded in the bubble of notes and kind of on the ocean of the tide of all those notes that come towards. That's what I do. Because otherwise it's like, oh my God, oh, note overload. So usually if I'm trying to learn a tune, that's what I do. I sit there and I try to do nothing. I try to let my brain do the work, the heavy lifting. And then once it starts to be in there, then I can try to, okay, I kind of know where it's going. So what's the first note? And then you build from there. But I'm not trying to teach you tunes tonight, so no stress at all. Thanks. Merci. Merci, Marc. You know, when you do foot tapping and then it's like the dust gets up and then you breathe in the wood dust. I love that, but I've had a lot of practice doing that. You know, I was listening to the Youth Commission concert, and to me, one of the things that was an evidence is just, it's obvious. You know, they were talking about each person that they met, that they learned from. And that's very important. That's the most important link, is when you get that connection with a player in traditional music. And maybe I'll open a little parenthesis. You know, they did a study on birds and young birds, and they wanted to see if the young birds could learn to sing like the parents, but from recordings. And yes, the answer is yes, they can. They can learn, but once they released those birds that had learned from recordings to sing from recordings, they could imitate the recordings. No human can tell the difference. But once they were in nature, their songs weren't working. They were driving the female birds away instead of bringing them. They were missing a little, je ne sais quoi, a groove, something like the pitch, the culture. They were missing their culture from having learned from recordings. And I think that translates very well to traditional music, where we sit together and we play music. And so the people that we learn from, that's very, very important. Very important. And thanks a lot for highlighting that. That's an important part of what we do. Because we're just a link in the chain. There's something like my roots are very deep, because I know my grandfather played before me, and then his grandfather played before me, and my children play, and then there's something very reassuring about that, being in that community culture that's still living here in North America. So that's great, and thanks. I know you're not doing it. It's pure passion, and it's so much fun to learn. So that's why you do it. But thanks for being the next link in the chain. What a link you are all. It's great. Oh, okay, so I'll stop talking and I'll play something that I learned from a recording. It's a movie that I saw when I was very young. Stop motion movie, you know, where they draw all there's all drawings, and then they put them 24 per second, and then it becomes animated. And that movie was about a rocking chair and the life of a rocking chair passing from generation to generation. It's Crack from Frédéric Bach, yes. And there's a waltz in there that was written by Claude Mété. And I had the chance to spend a lot of time with Claude Mété. He's a great guy, great composer, and I love the way he writes. Very simple melodies, no extra notes. So I'll play it for you now. It's one of my favorite little simple melodies. And I'll commit the sin of adding too many notes at some point, but I'll start with the real essence of the tune first. I didn't say the title. It's the La Valse Berçante, the rocking waltz, like the rocking of a rocking chair. And I was talking about the people that we meet, and that's how we learn this music, and that's how we build, we become a part of the community. And I'd like to ask someone who's sitting here in the audience on stage, because I always had great fun playing with Franklin Hayburn, and I learned many tunes from him that I've forgotten, but we played a little bit. Yeah. Whoops.
Not possible.
Oh, I just made a mess with the water, but it's just water. So I have a chair for you, monsieur.
Merci bien. The pleasure was always mine.
Well,
To play with Pascal.
mutual.
I used to sometimes go out and play. They play at the Vice Versa.
Yeah, in Montreal.
Brewery in Montreal, and I would get there at 9 o'clock. I had to be back in Vermont the next day, and sometimes I stayed till 3 o'clock. But I never, jamais, I never succeeded in staying until Pascal. They were always there when I left.
Yeah, I was great friends with the boss of that bar, so they would lock the door and like get everybody out, and we just stay until the sun comes up.
Ça c'est avant que les enfants. That was before the kids.
So there's a reel that for some reason made a big impression on people in the Eastern Township. I used to host a session in Dunham many years ago, and I learned that tune, Reel de Jacques Cartier, from you. Right. And you always tell me that you were the only one who plays it in D.
Yeah.
Everybody plays it in D because we all learned it from you.
Oh. The old guys played in B flat, but I can't play in B flat, so too hard.
So we'll play that one, and then Chamberlain.
Oh, sure.
Is that how you say it?
Chamberlains, yeah.
Chamberlains.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to
these
see
are
it
all,
written.
These are all French tunes from Vermont that we have to teach.
Yeah, they're Vermont tunes. They're great. I love
Chamberlains.
them.
Yeah. Thank you, Pascal.
Franklin and Heather! I know that's not even enough to get warmed up, but we only had 15 minutes before the show to figure out
Now, are you playing the same tune, or is somebody playing it a little harmonically?
I think Franklin was completing the chords. Yeah, well, you know, that's one of the great things about fiddle. If you get a bunch of fiddlers together and everybody just covers up for the other ones. Like the notes I don't know, my friend plays them, and the notes that we don't know, another friend plays them. So it sounds, the more fiddle, the better it sounds. That's why we love jam sessions. And I think maybe I'll change things up a little bit. Maybe have you sing something. When I was younger, I would spend weeks at a time in a chalet, in a shack in the woods, very far from everything. We had to fly there with what would you call an hydravion, a plane that lands on the water? Seaplane. And we were there for weeks at a time. And then we were traveling. We had 3 lakes, not our family, but the group that we were in that had the club. Norbo was the name of it. So a private club. They had 3 lakes with 4 different camps on the lakes, and we were traveling in canoes between those camps. So I spent a lot of time in a canoe with my father, and I always loved that, being in the canoe. I didn't know what I was doing, but he would correct everything. And when at some point I stopped doing that paddling and being in a canoe, and I missed that, so I'm always finding songs about canoeing. And this one that I'm about to sing, it's kind of, you know, in country music, there's those old cowboy songs about how the cowboy is just in love with his horse. Well, it's kind of the same thing, but the voyageur is in love with his canoe. And he sings about how it's so great, and he's so fast, and when he goes on the water, he doesn't even leave a mark in the water, he just speeds on through, and how he built it with the birch, and how he made his paddle and everything, and that the canoe is his partner in life, because that's what he does. He's free, he lives on the river, on the road that walks. That's how the natives used to talk about the river, the roads that walk. So he's there on the roads that walk, and he has a free life, and he loves it. His canoe is always there. If it's raining, he just pulls under the canoe over his head, and he sleeps under it beside the river at night. And there's a chorus that doesn't have any words in it. It's kind of lilting. So we'll try to have you sing that with me. And well, actually there are words, and the words are tiddly-day-dum, 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 tiddly-dum. So tiddly-day-dum, 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 tiddly-dum, tiddly-day-dum, 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 tiddly-dum, tiddly-day-dum, 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 brave seul toute la force des rapides du Saint-Laurent. Je brave seul toute la force des rapides du Saint-Laurent. Sur les rapides, je le lance parmi l'écume et les bouillons. Si vite il bondit et s'avance, qu'il n'y laisse même pas de sillon. Si vite il bondit et s'avance, qu'il n'y laisse même pas de sillon. Ses flancs sont faits d'écorce fine que je cueille sur le bouleau blanc. Ses coutures sont de racines et ses avirons de bois franc. Ses coutures sont de racines et ses avirons de bois franc. Here it comes. Sur les eaux. Et quand vient le temps d'un portage, je le transporte sur mon dos. Et quand vient le temps d'un portage, je le transporte sur mon dos. C'est mon compagnon de voyage et quand la clarté du jour fuit, je le renverse sur la plage et il m'abrite pour la nuit. Je le renverse sur la plage et il m'abrite pour la nuit. One more time. J'ai rencontré plus d'une nation des grands lacs du Saint-Laurent. Mon canon connaît bien leur nom et leur langage différent. Mon canon connaît bien leur nom et leur langage différent. Quand viendra mon dernier voyage, si je ne meurs au fond des eaux, sur ma tombe près du rivage, vous renverserez mon canot. Sur ma tombe près du rivage, vous renverserez mon canot. Talidé-dam, 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 Thank you for learning that. That was great. I'm very bad with time. I haven't looked at all. I know it's past 9 now. So maybe two more things? One more thing and a surprise? All right. But I'll get this out. And you know, when the fiddler retunes, something good is about to happen. Just like the banjo player. All right, that should be close enough. Okay, so I'll play two tunes. One tune that's called La Cardeuse, the carding woman. That's a cotillion, can be played for a dance. There are so many versions in Quebec. Whenever someone starts that tune, it always crashes the jam. Because too many different versions, different number of beats. So I made a point of learning every version that I could and trying to play them with the people at the jam sessions. No, there would be at least two people playing the same version when someone starts that tune. And I kind of compiled all those different versions together to come up with my own version that I'm about to play. And the last tune that I'm going to play comes from Jean-Claude Mirandette, who was known as a great singer, but also less known, but he composed a lot of great tunes. So I'm going to play one from him called Le Riz La Chance. I'll start with a tune that I composed called La Gigue du Salon. like to invite the Youth Commission back on stage, and we know 2 tunes, at least 1.5 together. And also, Franklin, you want to come and play Woodchoppers and Matawa with us? We'll give you your chair.
I can stand back.
Okay, good. So we'll play Woodchoppers first. And maybe I'll get this out of your way. I'm sure Franklin would say that's a Vermont tune.
Oh, it is. In Franklin County, we call it pea soup. Pea soup.
Pea soup, yeah. We call it soupe au pois.
Got it from us, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Ron Rest and Don Bernard used to play every Friday, right from Richford and from St. Albans. Great bunch of guys.
Yeah. And so we'll play a Vermont tune first, but then the next one is for sure is Québécois.
Okay.
It's so a good mix of the two.
What's the key of the second tune?
The second tune is E minor.
Okay, yeah.
E minor.
Sounds good. We totally practiced.
And then we start. It's really basic. The part we start on is E minor and D. Yeah. Okay. One, two, here we go.
figure out the second, the beat part.